I was in the $500,000 position in March of 2020. That position went up to like 900K. Like overall, I was up like 400K. But long story short, I lost all the 500K and I did it publicly.
Welcome everyone back to a Words of Rizdom Podcast. This is where we talk about people's journeys, what it takes to get to success, the hardships, the positive points, the learning points that we can all learn from. And we're here in Dubai, as you can probably tell. This is the Dubai attire. I made sure. I was worried that my daughter got a stain on it right here, and I was a little bit worried I wouldn't be able to do this. So I managed to pull it off. But thank you all for tuning in. We are joined by Umar Ashraf.
What is going on, man? How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. How are you?
Good.
I know we were in talks. I was in New York, and I was like, hey, maybe I can get you there. But then I didn't realize you were here.
It was crazy because I think the night you flew into New York is that morning is when I flew out.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was like, oh man, if I knew beforehand, I could have extended. But you're like, I'm coming to Dubai. So I was like, okay, we'll figure it out in Dubai. Yeah.
Well, I'm actually happy you weren't there because I did 10.
I know. I saw, man. I saw, and I was like, wow, this guy's a machine.
Trust me. But I thank you actually for providing your driver. Your driver gave me a lift from the airport.
No problem.
So thank you. That was quite the experience.
No
I think he was annoyed at me though.
Why is that?
He goes, I don't go to JFK often. I'm normally at the private airports and stuff.
Yeah. No. He's a cool guy.
I dragged you. No, he's a nice guy. Very nice guy.
Yeah.
But thank you for that. No, I really
problem.
appreciate it. But here we are. Now, how we like to start these off is really, a lot of people know you and a lot of people won't, only because I'm more on the Forex side. So you're more on the stock option side. So we like to know a bit about your journey, how you got to where you are today. You can be as long or as short as possible or whatever you want really. And then we just take it from there.
I've been trading for 10 years. Started when I was 18 in high school. Typical story. Had 20,000 saved up, grew to 35,000. Thought I was the man. Thought I knew everything. Blew all the money. By summertime, that $35,000 account was about at $2,000, and then from there, my trading journey started. Right, spent 2 years of just trying to figure everything out, learn more about myself, learn more about the markets, and then fast forward, like I said, 10 years in now, and took me about 2.5 years to find consistency and find comfortability within myself in trading and within trading itself.
Okay, yeah.
So
it was interesting. You said like the typical story, but 20,000 saved up at 18. That's not typical.
I hear that a lot. You're right. From different. I remember I posted this on a prior podcast once, and people are like, "Oh, he's lying. At 20 or 18, how do you have 20,000 saved up?" And I'm like, I wasn't living on my own. I was living with my parents. Right. I had expenses, but they weren't massive. I was selling iPhones on Craigslist. I was selling domains. I was buying websites on Fiverr before people got on Fiverr. This is like in 2012, 2013. And I was flipping websites, flipping domains, things like that. So I was making money by being in school, right? I was also working jobs. It wasn't like I was just sitting and making money. Jobs, doing stuff online. I was able to accumulate money. And when I had the money, my thing was, hey, how do I grow it?
Yes.
Right. And obviously I was on the right path, but bad execution. Like terrible, like good idea, but bad way of going about it. At 18, you make this amount of money. At 20,000, you're like, oh my God, I have so much money. I take it. I'm like, I can do anything and I'll succeed at it. I go, I put it in the market. Obviously I do well right off the bat. Ego, confidence goes up higher. Next thing you know, blow it again. But yeah, I guess making money at a certain stage, accumulating even 10 or 20,000, especially if your environment and everything is good, I don't personally think it's difficult.
Yeah, not necessarily difficult, but most don't do it. Because I think the difficult stage is controlling your impulses.
I wasn't spending. I wasn't going out to clubs, partying, and buying designer clothes and things like that. I wasn't really spending money on much. And like I said, and also living with my parents at the time, I didn't really have much expenses, right? So it's like every dollar that comes in, I'm keeping 80-90% of it. Yeah, right.
100%. So like in regards to that, like the clubs, it's so easy to fall into that. The clubs, even just going out to say like hookah bars as we talked about before, or even just going out generally, go to restaurants every night with the friends, or just learning a way to spend the money, especially when you don't have the expenses as well. So why didn't you do that?
Because the way I looked at it is the jobs I worked at the time. I worked at a pharmacy. I worked at a construction company. I worked as a delivery driver. So I was making, depending on the job, $10 to $15 an hour. So, let's say some of my friends want to go out and have a nice steak. Okay, it's coming out to this much. I have to work 6 hours to go and pay for that. So I was like, is that really efficient for me to do at this stage of my life? I'm like, no. At this stage of my life, it makes more sense for me to put my head down, save as much as I can, and just, work on trying to make myself get myself to a point where I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to penny pinch on where my money's going.
Yeah.
At that point, I just wasn't comfortable enough spending. I wasn't at the stage. So it's more so like, hey, save all the money I can. Don't spend it on stupid things. I don't need to go out and party. I don't need to go out and go to clubs. I don't need to go out and, go to fancy restaurants. I'm not at that stage. When I get there, great, I'll do it. But right now, every dollar counts. And just, like there's times I would not get Starbucks and I would get Dunkin' Donuts. And, in America, we have, I don't know if you guys have that in the UK.
We've just got Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah. So Dunkin' Donuts was like a lot cheaper. Like a Dunkin' coffee was like $2.50.
Okay.
Starbucks was like $5 or $6. And I used to get Dunkin' on purpose because it was cheaper.
Okay.
Right. Because I was like, I'm not going to spend the extra $3-4. After a few years, that mindset kind of helps. Just saving up more money.
Okay. It's interesting because a lot of people, there's always the polar sides, right? So there's that one side in terms of like making sure you're doing the saving, you can still enjoy, but have that separation, and so you can save as much as possible. But then there's the other side where people argue, no, that's not going to make a difference. You need to just increase your income.
I agree with that. And at 18, I didn't think like that. Going into 20, I did. But I still wasn't spending it on stupid stuff like clubs. I'm not like, I just think that's a waste of money. But like coffee and spending it on like guilty pleasures, yeah, I agree. Just go and make more money. But also, once you have the path of knowing how to make more money, right? Saying make more money is very easy, but doing it is very hard. So once you kind of have a path of like, okay, I know how to make more money, then those things are irrelevant. Like at this point, for me to worry about not spending $200-300 on dinner or picking between coffee and saving the couple of dollars doesn't really make a difference, right? So yes, I do agree at that point. Enjoy the guilty pleasures, have fun, and just kind of look at it from a different point of view. But at 18, you're just like, I can't spend $100 on dinner or $200 on dinner, right? I got to work X amount of hours, and at that point, I also don't know how to make more money yet.
Yeah,
so it's different.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing. So like you said, like 18, that was your thinking.
Yeah.
Was that natural for you?
In terms of like saving
like saving and thinking in terms of like, okay, this is $100. That's like that much time. Or was there some sort of influence that made you think that way?
No, I think it was natural. I'm trying to remember. I think I at that point it was whatever money goes out. I used to look at it as in how many hours I would have to allocate. Because like now in my life, I'm not exchanging time for money, right? It's not like I work X amount of hours to make something. It's more so value for money. So I don't look at it in terms of hours. But at that point, I was like, if I work 70 hours, I'll make this much.
Yeah.
Wow, if I take a vacation for a week, I lose out on my pay and I have to pay or work this many hours to, make up for it. So it was just kind of, I guess, trying to be financially smart with the little I had at the point.
Yeah.
And how can I maximize my current resources, right? So I think it was essentially, like, I don't know, maybe it came from somewhere, but I can't think where it came from.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. I was just asking because, again, it's like, it's not the usual mindset, but it's good to hear.
It's also, I think the mindset is, I was okay on sacrificing and doing the dirty work and giving up certain things to have a better life later on, right? I think most people don't want to make the sacrifice. So I was like, okay, I'm making these sacrifices of not going on vacation, let's say with my friends from high school. They want to go on vacation, or these group of people that want to go on vacation. Their vacation's $1,000, $2,000. Other people are doing it. But for me, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to go out to a night of a club and spend $500 a person and do all these things where I'll sacrifice this moment of my life to have a better future later on.
Yeah.
Right. And it was just putting my head down for that.
Definitely. And you mentioned in terms of like being in high school and doing these other business things, whether it's buying phones on Craigslist or flipping websites, right?
Yeah.
What was the motivation behind that?
I just wanted to make money. I just wanted to make money. I come from, a Pakistani background. So for us, it's always go be a doctor, go and be a lawyer. And nothing wrong with that. All respect to all that. But I've always been like, mentally, the way I've been wired is if I see something happening, I kind of push away from the crowd.
Okay.
It's just like I don't know what it is. Maybe it's toxic, maybe it's bad, but I'm just like, okay, everyone's doing that. I don't want to do it. It's just how I would always think, right? So coming up, seeing everyone go in that direction, I remember I used to tell my mom, like, oh, Mom, I'm going to make like $100,000 a month. And then I'm going to make $1 million a month. And my mom's like, no one makes that. I don't know who's getting in your head. That's not real. $100,000 a year is so much money. You're talking about a month. I was like, no, watch. And it would just be like, what can I do that's different? What can I do that puts me in like a different group, right? And that's where like the trading idea came from, and that's where like the direction kicked in from.
Where did you come across trading?
So funny story, when I was in high school, I Googled Forbes.com, and I looked at who made the most money last year. And like, I think the top 2 or 3 people that year were hedge fund managers, like 400 million, 1.2 billion. And I was like, what is a hedge fund manager? And then I saw what they do. And obviously it's very different to like trading itself, but it had the realm of stocks. So I was like, okay, they were involved in the stock market, so I'm gonna get involved in the stock market. So from there, I was like, I need to get involved. I have this money saved in. I'm gonna put it in, and I'm gonna go that way. And obviously, you know, doesn't go that way. Yeah,
exactly. Where were you brought up in New York?
Yeah, New York.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
obviously you had Wall Street on your doorstep essentially. I know New York is, whenever I used to think of New York, I just thought Manhattan. That's all I knew. And now I know that New York is much bigger.
It's much bigger, yeah. But you have Wall Street on your steps, but doesn't like, it's not like you go rub it and you get a good look. You know what I mean? Like you have it, but it doesn't really do anything in realism, right? Of course it's there. It gives you like this thing. I'm from New York. I'm at the world capital place, but there's no like additional benefit, if that makes sense, that you get from like being there. Yeah.
No, that's interesting. But were you close to Manhattan? Were you?
No, we lived in Staten Island.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So give or take 30
Still need to
minutes.
visit,
Yeah,
Can you
30
imagine?
minutes, 25 minutes, 35 minutes, depending on traffic. So relatively close. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
But you mentioned there, obviously, you know, the start of the journey not being what everyone sort of seems when they start out. Did you ever do any education before you started, or you just
Education and trading or overall?
trading wise? Sorry.
So trading wise, I went through like a lot of YouTube stuff. I read books, right? A lot of different books. I skimmed through them, read some, skimmed through some, got a grasp, but I didn't start going through videos until like a year in. In the beginning, I was like, I'll figure it out. I know what to do, even though I had no idea. So it was just watching a bunch of YouTube videos, listening to a lot of audiobooks, reading books and things like that, and just taking it and trying to implement it, right? And my thing has always been I'm good at self-learning. Like I would like to say I have a skill set of learning on my own. Like even in school, if the teacher's talking, I have no idea what's going on. I would have to go home, break it down for myself, draw it out, whatever, and I would be able to pick up and learn it, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, okay, I can self-learn this. It took me a lot longer than I think it should have if I did it correctly. But took me about 2 years to get that grasp, as mentioned. And then from there, it was just kind of like a adjustment thing. I have the foundation. How do I adjust? How do I make it better? What do I do to just kind of get on the right path?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And coming into it, did you think you were going to make it in the first year, or did you have a bit more of a realistic approach?
No. So when I first started my first month, especially because I made money, I was like, I got it. That's it. It's a printing machine. I have a printing machine on my computer, right? I was like, I click buttons, I make money, and that's it. And I was like, okay, it'll take me 2 months to get it down, 3 months to take it down, and for the rest of my life, I'm set.
Wow.
Obviously, when that didn't happen, I was like, okay, it'll take me 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. And I did think about quitting it when I did lose the money, but I think what ultimately kept me going was I was very motivated by outside noise. Okay. So when outside noise was like, see, I told you. Because when I started trading, every person in my life, from friends to people I know and so on, were like, oh, trading is not real. It's not going to work. No one makes money in trading, right? And this is prior to what everyone sees now, right? Because in 2012, 2013, you also have to keep in mind, like Instagram was relatively new, right? Social media was relatively new. Everything was still on the rise. So you didn't have the Instagram traders, right? Now, because you have Instagram traders, social media traders, and nothing bad about them, but you have something to reference of like, oh, you can do it.
Yeah.
At that point, there weren't a lot of people in the space that were trading or doing anything in particular. So it's hard to like reference or use someone as a reference, even to like people in my life. Like, oh, look at these people, they're doing well. Look at this person. So it was kind of like you're trying to do this thing that's non-existent. Right now, obviously, over the years, more and more people started doing it and so on. But it was more so like everyone says I can't do it and it's not possible. Okay, I'm going to figure out how to do it and how to make it.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And what was your parents' reaction? As you said, like in our culture, it's a lot of like, go the traditional route.
Sure.
So what was their reaction when you said, hey, I'm going to start trading? Let's take a break for a minute there, guys, because I want to tell you about our sponsor, Skilled Funded Trader, SFT. Now, that's brought to you by myself, Omar Agag, and Life of Paladin. Now, just as I've taken over the podcast space, it's now time for us to take over the prop firm industry. Now, how are we going to do that? First of all, traders shouldn't have so much pressure on their shoulders when trading. So how do we reduce that? How do we get rid of that? How do we alleviate that? Well, you already know. We will take away maximum trading days. So that means no maximum trading days. So whether it takes you 1 month, 6 months, 8 months, it does not matter. Now, can you achieve 8%? Because that's our profit target in phase 1 in 8 months, 1% a month. I think you can do that. Now, you can hold trades over the weekend. So we are here for all traders, no matter if you're a scalper, day trader, or swing trader. We're here for all traders, and that includes you. But also on our phase 2, it's just a 5% target. Now, we only have 3 minimum trading days on phase 1 and 3 minimum trading days on phase 2. So within 6 trading days, you can be fully funded with us. Now, max capital, you can have up to $400,000 with SFT. $400,000. It is absolutely life-changing. Now, if you have the skills here at Skilled Funded Trader, we want you to come and take part in our challenge. Now, in terms of scaling, you can actually take that $400,000 and through our scaling plan, achieve the maximum of $2 million. $2 million, taking it up another level. That's what we're here to do, and we will continue to do so. So make sure you check out the link in the description. There'll be the Discord link for the community to get live updates. So make sure you join that, as well as the website as well, and check out any coupon codes below for any discounts at SFT. Let's get back to the episode.
So my mom at the time was kind of like, I don't think this is a smart idea, because also she's not exposed to it, right? This is another thing. We were talking about the pod with Raja. Parents want the best for you, right? They're not saying things because they want to hurt you. They're saying what they think is best for you based on their experiences in their life. So when you go on their experiences in their life, they only know a certain amount, right? So when you expose something very new like trading to them, they'll be like, okay, like, what do I do with this? Like, you can't make money from this. So it's like, I see a lot of kids trying to convince their parents, no, mom, no, dad, trading is it. This is it. I need to do this. I need to do this. And I'm like, don't tell them, show them results. If you show them consistent results of you taking it serious, you actually making money from it, and you just having results, they'll eventually listen. But you can't go to your parents and be like, hey, I want to be a trader and I'm going to make it. And for them to be like, yeah, this trading thing makes no sense to me, but I believe in you. It's just hard. Like, you can't expect that support from them, right? Because it's very new to them. So for my parents, like, my dad understands a little bit, but he understood it more so from like an investing point of view, not from like an intraday trading point of view. So it was like, I understand like the investing, and and a lot of my dad's friends invested in Wall Street, but they lost money.
Of course.
Right. So of course there's like that baggage of like, hey, this is not a place to get involved in. And for my mom, it was just very new to her. So it was like, wait, you're not going to go to college? Because I went to college for 3 semesters. The third semester when I dropped out, I told my mom I'm going to drop out. And she's like, no. I was like, okay, can I take 1 semester off and just focus on trading? Because, you know, school's taking so much time away. And she's like, okay, 1 semester, fine. So when I took that semester off, you know, and I kind of told her about trading, she wasn't like, I don't want to say she wasn't supportive. She was against it, but she was like, okay, I'll support you, but I'll give you a semester or 2 to kind of figure it out, right? So it was a level of support, but also like a backhanded support, if that makes sense. I don't think it's going to work, but you try it, which I understand from her point of view. So they weren't, not so much, I'd say. Yeah. But it was just, like I said, in my head, it was like, hey, I'm not going to argue with them. I'm not going to tell them you're wrong, because I can't go to you and say, hey, trading is a good thing to do. You're wrong, without showing you results.
Of course, yeah.
And that was my mindset. I was like, I'm going to show my parents results. And when they see results over time, they'll say, okay, good. Now my parents are like, you did a good thing. Good job, right? They're like, good job. I understand it and blah, blah, blah. But at the time, it's hard.
Yeah, definitely. And whereabouts in your journey did that point happen? Because I can't imagine it's right now. I'd imagine maybe...
So with my mom, it was like around 23-ish.
Okay.
Right? When like I started making like good money.
So 5 years.
Yeah. With my dad, maybe around 24-ish, because around 23 to 22, around that time period is when I took over the house bills. I took responsibility of everything in my house. And I was like, Dad, like, you can keep working if you want. My dad's a pharmacist. And I was like, you can keep working. You can do what you want, but I'm going to take care of the bills. I'm going to take care of everything. My mom put on payroll. I was like, you're good. You're going to be taken care of. Like, it was, so when they started seeing that consistent aspect of money coming in, like, okay, there's money. He's taking care of this. He's taking care of that. And it wasn't like my dad couldn't take care of it, but it was more so me, like, as a young adult, I was like, it's my responsibility to make sure my family's taken care of, right? Even if my dad is physically capable of going and earning money and doing it, I want him to do it because he wants to, not because he has to.
Yeah.
So it was that mental pressure I put on myself from 18. And when I got comfortable at like 22-ish, I was like, all right, my dad, you don't have to work. I'm going to pay the car. I'm going to pay the mortgage, paid off the mortgage, paid everything off just to make sure you guys are always good. So when they saw that consistently, they were like, what, like, okay, you are making money. Because, you know, you can show them a screen and say, hey, I'm making money. And they'll be like, okay, well, is that real? Is that tangible?
Yeah.
Until you like show it's tangible. Yeah.
No, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And talking about money though, you've saved 20,000. How long did that take?
Probably I would say that whole year, maybe. Yeah. 18 I was January, so maybe like last year January till that January, like a whole year-ish.
You're doing the
flipping phones. Yeah, I would buy phones. At that point, it was very lucrative. It's not as lucrative now. Buy phones from Craigslist. Phone would be iPhones. Yeah,
popping off,
buy it for 150 that has a cracked screen. Buy like 10, 20 at times. Fix up all the screens and resell them for like $200 margins, right? Because at that point, that market wasn't like real, right?
Yeah.
So I was able to, take advantage of that and make some good money. That was like where I made the majority of the money of the 20,000. Then a little bit was like, I have 5,000 saved up. I can buy this domain for $500. I'd buy it. I would, go on an auction, and then I'd try to go sell it, make a couple of $100 from that. I'd go buy a website on Fiverr, take that website and try to go sell it to this person, that person that's looking for a similar website. And it wasn't like I was making big money. It was like 200 here, 400 here, 300 here. And for me,
still, for back then, it was quite,
it
wasn't well known as, well, especially as popular and saturated as it is now.
Exactly. So, and I think if I stayed in that industry and I really like,
that
would have been cool. But for me, it was just more of like a side hustle thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Was there any particular website you remember that sticks out as one that you sold?
I do. It was an adult toy website.
Oh no.
I know. I remember someone. I forgot what website someone was looking to buy something very similar, and the money on it was good. And I found someone that was selling one that was already built, and I was like, okay, I just have to connect these two people.
Of course, yeah.
And I think on that I made like $1,200.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my god, if I can close this, I'll make $1,200. And I was like, okay, I'll buy it. I bought this. I reached out to the guy. Before I bought it, I reached out to the guy, confirmed he's like cool, and then I was able to connect the two people together. And
what was the website name?
I don't remember the name. I don't remember the name.
Was there something funny in the name?
Yeah. The name and everything was crazy, and I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this, but it's fine. I gotta find a way to make money. Nope. Yeah.
That's incredible. It just goes to show, look, like people, I think, have a lot of excuses nowadays. I used to remember, even to this day, I find it shocking, and I know that people out there will be like, this guy's out of touch for me saying this, but I've never understood the mindset of it's hard to find a job, personally. Like, whenever I've struggled, and I've struggled many times, and I've been unemployed many times, gaps in it, my CV is terrible in terms of like having gaps in it and lack of experience and all this sort of stuff, right? But I've never struggled to find a job, right? I would apply, I'd be turned down, I would be rejected, but I'd always find a job because there's so many jobs that people need filling. Have you ever had that? Like you doing that, right? Some people be out there never would have even thought of that, right? So what your mindset when you have people or hear people saying that, oh, I don't want to do this type of job, or I'm too good to do this, especially in trading.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, I have met countless people who said, I'm not made to work a job. I don't want to work a job, right? Who does? No one wants to, essentially, unless they're really passionate about something they do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's created from our culture, like the culture of social media, like jobs are bad. And I said this in like another video. I don't think jobs are bad. Number one, just to clear, I don't think 9 to 5s are bad. I think 9 to 5s are good and should be respected. I think if you don't want to work one and you have a reason on why you don't want to work one, okay, understandable. But if you don't want to work one because society says you shouldn't work one, don't knock them down, because we have a lot of respected professions that do a 9 to 5, and without them the world is not going to be operational. So that's number one. Number two, in terms of finding jobs, I think it depends, because I had a hard time finding jobs when I was 18. I didn't have experience. I didn't know how to communicate with people. So just going off of what you said and knowing you and having the conversation with you, I think you have the charisma and energy to communicate well with people.
Okay.
So I think looking at it from a different point, I think you can take you and put you in a certain situation, and I feel like you can mend the way you need to fit that role. And I think that's a skill set. Maybe that's why when you look at it, like, I don't know why people can't find a job, because you can naturally do that, or you've built yourself to do that. Some people are incapable of doing that, right? Some people can't go and mesh into a job, or they can't speak into a job. So they need a very strong resume.
Yes.
So I think maybe that's why when you look at it, you're like, I don't know why, like, I can get a job.
Yeah, I get it. No, it's 100%. Because I'm guilty of that, of always assuming that everyone kind of thinks the same or has the same
I learned that the hard way. Like, people are going to think very differently from you. They're going to operate very differently from you. The way you see things and what's very common to you is not common to other people, right? And I've learned common sense is not very common.
Yes.
So some people, like, you'd be surprised if you put them in a job situation, some people can excel on the conversation and interview so well that people are like, hey, we need to bring this guy on. Where other people like, they can't excel in that department.
Yeah.
So that's why they have a hard time. So just like I said, it depends. But I think if you really narrow down on knowing what skill sets you have and what skill sets you don't have, and you maximize on what you do have, and you just focus on those areas of jobs or business or whatever, that'll help you. And that also carries over to trading, because I think in trading, we're all different people.
Yes.
Right? You and I are different. Me and the next person is different. The way we think, the way we operate is very different. So the way I trade may not fit the way you trade. The way you trade may not fit the way I trade. So I think in trading, what happens is people enter trying to replicate someone's way of trading.
Yeah.
Not knowing how they process and how they react to certain things, right? So I'll give you an example of some traders that I've had conversations with and I worked with. They'll be very good at hypothetically taking scalps, 1 minute, 2 minute trades in and out. But then I see other traders trying to replicate that, and they have an extreme hard time replicating that because they're not naturally fast on their feet. They're not naturally fast on making quick choices and executing at a high level and processing super fast information, where other people or other traders are. So it goes back into that aspect of understanding what type of trader are you, what personality trait you have, and what, like, see, I can sit here and say scalping is so easy. Why can't people scalp? But the next guy, he can't, he's not a fast thinker. So it's hard for me to, kind of think that way.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
No,
So,
100%. I respect that. And you've taught me a lesson again.
Yeah, no,
This is why I love the podcast, man. I learned so much. You know?
Yeah.
I always say to people, it's a selfish thing, really.
No, I think it's great, because even like when I have conversations with people, be it pod or not, I learn so much. Like even on the last pod with Roger, it was the same thing. I was asking questions from a genuine, curious point of view.
Yes.
Right. And I think when you stay a student of anything, especially life, you keep growing, you keep learning, and you keep evolving.
Definitely. And it's great for you to say that, because I'm sure no doubt a lot of people out there have the assumption, like I did when I was in my journey, where you think you reach some level of success and that is it. Life is just easy, nothing else, no hardship, and it's normally associated to money. When I've reached this amount of money, that's it.
Yeah.
Right. And talking about money then, so like that 20,000 you saved up, even a year's a long time, especially when you're 18, like a year is everything. You're probably like, you're a whole different person from 18 to 19.
Yeah, of course.
And we hope, I think, as you mentioned about being a student of the game, those who have that longevity, especially in business and success, every year they're different. Every year they're evolving.
Of course.
While I think a lot of people, at a certain point, they stop.
Yeah.
And so losing that money then, that 20,000 you'd saved up and worked so hard on and done all these different things for, you then lose, you make money on it first,
sure,
which felt amazing, as you said, but then you lose it. What was that like at that age then?
Weirdly, it didn't hurt. I remember people in my life were like, oh my God, you lost 20,000. Like, are you okay? I was like, it's just money. Right. And I don't mean to say it in a bad way, like it's just money, and right. But I remember I learned a very valuable lesson. I forgot where, and it stuck with me, that money doesn't cry over you. Money doesn't get depressed over you. Money doesn't get sick over you. So why would you get sick over it? Right. And it's the same thing with money, where the main thing we have is our health. Right. Like if I lost it, it sucks. Yes. Like I wish I didn't lose it. But at the same time, as long as I use that to learn and grow from, especially being 18, I'm in the best situation I can possibly be. I'd rather lose the money at 18 when I don't have family, kids, and so on, and take that and use that experience to motivate me and get better, than to be like, oh my God, I lost 20,000, my life's over. Right? My life is just getting started. So I took that and I was like, okay, I lost 20,000. I learned a very valuable lesson. If you half-ass stuff in life will hand it back to you in a very bad way. So you can't cut corners, because that's what I did. I cut corners trying to make money in the market without, prepping myself. Right? I didn't respect trading enough. Right. And I see a lot of traders do that nowadays, where they don't respect the game enough. Like they expect to wake up, open their laptop, press 2 buttons and make money. And I'm like, you're disrespecting people that take this craft very, very seriously.
Yes.
It's the same thing as me trying to go and perform surgery on someone having no education, no experience, no nothing in performing surgery, and expecting to do it well. I am now essentially disrespecting the person that spent tens of years in school. Same thing as traders. If you're going into this industry and you open up your laptop and you click a few buttons and you expect to make money, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, I hope you lose money. Because you're disrespecting and discrediting the work of other people that spent years and years of effort into this place. So at that point, that's the lesson I learned. And I was like, I deserve to lose this money. I can't get mad. The only person I can get mad is myself, not the market. I didn't prepare myself to the best of my ability to take this on. So I have to take a step back and be like, either I quit trading and never say I tried trading and like use that font of everyone else and be like, hey, I gambled. Essentially, I gambled, right? Because I don't have the knowledge, I didn't prep myself. Or I double down and I say, I'm going to take this craft seriously, really work on it, and give myself time over a longer period of time. And that's what I did. I went in that direction.
Yeah, definitely. And it sounds like you had definitely a different mindset. Is that something that was shared among your siblings as well, or is it something that kind of was a bit unique to you as an individual?
I think a little. Most of that mindset came, like, I remember I used to have it like 15. I used to play basketball on my basketball team. Came from sports. A little bit came from my dad. My dad, he used to have a pharmacy. He used to do, really, like, I used to go to his pharmacy with him when I was younger, and so I used to always be like, I want to operate things and I want to dominate things. It came from ego. Right, same thing with basketball. If I'm playing basketball, I was like, okay, I want to like demolish this guy. I want to. He's the best player. I want to guard him. Okay, no one can, like, it comes from, like, I think certain things you're born with naturally, and naturally it was, for me, it was always like, I want to dominate. If I'm doing something, I want to do it to the best of my ability, always, from like 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, whatever I was doing. And then when I went into the business department of it, it carried over. Hey, if I'm going to do this, I want to dominate. I just don't want to win at a low level. I want to win at the highest level that I could possibly win. It's not being egotistic, but it's like, hey, if I'm going to play a game, I want to win at a high level, not just win small. Same thing with trading. If I'm going to trade, I want to make sure I'm able to maximize myself at the highest point and push myself to those limits.
Definitely. So I want to touch on this last point, and then we'll really dive into the trading side of things. But so you mentioned basketball there. Was that like your first sort of sport, sort of passion in that sense? Yeah,
first and only sport. Yeah, it was the first and only sport I really,
So you had that mindset more naturally. So when you had that mindset, I want to be the best, I want to dominate, but then taking the losses on the basketball court, say whether it be the person you're trying to dominate actually end up outperforming you or losing is it match in basketball? What is it? It's a game. Right?
Games, yeah.
I'm not a sports guy.
It's okay. No worries.
I know, but yeah, losing the game then, how would it hurt you more in the beginning? Like literally the first few losses, let's say.
Let's take a break for a minute there, guys, because I want to tell you about our other sponsor, TradeZella. Now, TradeZella is something I only wished I had during my journey, because I would have saved myself so much time and, more importantly, money, because TradeZella is the greatest automated journaling software on the market. That's right. Automated. All you have to do is connect your MetaTrader 4, MetaTrader 5, so essentially your account, and it will pull up all of your data with all your statistics. It goes so in depth, from obviously your losses, the days, the times. It allows you to bar replay, so you can actually see that trade as if it was live. Absolutely incredible. It's an absolute game changer for everyone's trading journey. Without data, how can you make a statistical edge? I went through so much time without collecting data, without journaling. And why was that? Because most people find journaling very tedious, when in reality, why not have it automated and all done for you? All you do is just add the notes. As part of TradeZella, you also have playbooks. So if you have different entry drills, you can list them all out so you can categorize your trades. TradeZella is for everyone, whether you trade options, whether you trade Forex, whether you trade prop firms, or even just your own personal account. It is here to revolutionize the trading journey. Make sure you click the link in the description below and use the code RIZ10 for 10% off. Go take a look at the link in the description. Let's get back to the episode.
I don't think losses ever really hurt me. I never really got affected by losing until I went to trading. The first year just was like, holy shit. But like losing in basketball and losing in aspects of life were never really losses. It was like, okay, how can I improve?
Okay.
I obviously lost because I lacked something,
so it seems
right?
like a very, very natural mindset.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I lost. I lack something. What do I lack?
Like
okay, how
Kobe you are. Yeah.
Exactly. So how do I get better? Okay. What can I do to come back, right? And I think like you go to any great people in the world that have achieved great things, the best things came from losses.
Yes.
Right. Like losing periods, shape your character, shape so many things within you. And it's like only if you let that.
Yes.
So for me, every time losing has been like, okay, I lost. Why? Could I have done something differently? Okay, no, I couldn't have done something differently. I'm not equipped enough to win yet. That's also a thing. Like, I'm honest, I'm not equipped enough to dominate yet. So what skill sets do I need to dominate? What skill sets do I need to win? Maybe sometimes I didn't give my 100% and I was lazy, and that's on me. Right, so it depends, and it's just comes to a point of being honest, right? And then also when you play the longevity game, nothing is really losing until I leave the table.
Yes.
As long as I stay here, I'm still playing the game, and I'm not trying. It's not a winning or losing. It's like I want to play this game for as long as I possibly can, and it's the game of life, game of business, whatever it is. And every losing period is just adding on to the big wins, right? So even what people see now, and I've been here for 10 years. It's like for 10 years, I've had so many losing points. I've had businesses I've started that have failed, right? People will only highlight the good stuff. I had businesses that I started early on that failed, did really bad. And all of those losses accumulated into the wins that people see now.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't see the losses. Right?
Yeah, people don't like to highlight them. People like to highlight the wins. Same thing with trading. People like I've had terrible losing periods in my trading career. Like in 2020, I don't know if you know, but I went through a really weird time in trading, and some people that are maybe watching, they probably remember too. 2020, before the pandemic, before the market tanked. I don't know if you were watching the market around that time. I shorted the market, right? So when I shorted the market, I publicly shorted it. Hey guys, I'm in $500,000. Right, so I was in a $500,000 position in March of 2020. That position went up to like 900K. Like overall, I was up like 400K. But long story short, I lost all the 500K, and I like essentially doubled down on my thought process and on my position, and I did it publicly. So you can imagine when publicly you do something on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, yada yada yada, and you're telling people. I'm not saying, hey, I'm not showing people my trades after. I'm saying, hey, I'm taking this trade here at this level with this much money. So when that flips, that big loss now becomes like detrimental to you. Because now it's not only that you lost money, you also
it's like public shaming.
People go, oh my god, this guy sucks. He doesn't know how to. And mentally that gets to you, and it got to me. But from there, I learned the most valuable lesson, like so many valuable lessons from that period of not allowing outside noise to alter my ego. Because I could have cut that position, but because so many people were like, I'm wrong, I was like, no, I'm right. So I went more. So there was a lot of small things that I did wrong because of outside perception. My risk was massive. My ego came in, and it just kind of ultimately destroyed me at that point. So it's like, yes, at that current window of a period, it was a loss. Year after 2020, 2021, I had my biggest trading year, $7.5 million. Right, so that came from that loss of preparation and me going through that and being ready to take bigger positions, being ready to take bigger size in trades, and just the comfortability of other positions.
In terms of stocks, because I'm interested, because I've never really looked on I came into trading doing Forex. Literally straight into Forex.
Straight Forex.
Stayed into Forex. That was it. So I've never looked at options.
Is that more, just curious, is that more of a UK thing?
This is what a lot of people say. I think it is. I think we're less exposed to the stock side and the option side for sure. I think there are probably people out there. There might be people.
I know there are. It's not that, but I from what I've seen, the majority of people.
I think social media. That would be my opinion. I think the rise of social media, and then as we talked about previously about the being able to leverage lifestyle marketing alongside the leverage and the entry level then, and the opportunity of using the leverage to then be able to flip an account and then be your whole life sorted. Maybe that was part of it. Maybe there's a company called IML, which is like
that's what pushed me away from Forex.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, yeah.
I think the rise of that as well, because then they get into the sort of like the teenagers, if you will, like the early 20s as well. Do business and trading. I think these things kind of excelled Forex side of things.
Got it.
But yeah, for me, I came into it. To be fair, I came in 2016, so it was just when people were starting to get onto social media. Right, there's only two main companies at the time, and I learned from one of them, then the other. So I just always stayed in Forex. So like again, a lot of my audience is Forex related as well. So that's why I just wanted to ask you about the stock side of things. Can you tell us a little bit just about maybe basics? Because I would imagine stocks, if I heard it, you could just buy a stock.
Correct.
Right? Can you sell a stock?
Yeah, you can buy and sell. So you can short a stock.
You can short as well.
You can go on the downside. But I don't just trade stocks. I trade stocks, options, and futures. Right. So
did you start with doing?
I started with stocks, then I got into options and futures. Right. So I see you guys trade US 30. Right. Yeah. Same thing as like trading this S&P 500. Right. Trading SPY, like I trade SPY. So it's like the movements are the same. The price action's the same. The instruments may be different. The leverage is different.
Yes.
But what you're seeing and what I'm seeing is essentially the same thing, especially on that, right? The way the trading is done in both worlds are relatively similar depending on your trading style.
Yeah.
But in stocks, like if you're trading stocks, you can buy it, you can short it depending on the stock. The leverage isn't the same. Like if you're trading stocks, like let's say Apple, you need a lot of money to go and buy 100 shares of Apple to make a good amount of money. That's why a lot of people go into options. So for options, you can essentially trade the underlying instrument. So example, if I'm trading stocks, and let's say I have Apple, Apple, Tesla, Nvidia, Amazon, even SPY, the S&P 500, they all have options.
Okay.
Right? Options have expiration dates. Usually they expire on Fridays. Some options have same day expirations like SPY, right? So let's say today's Monday and I'm trading Apple. I can buy an option contract, call or put, meaning I'm making an assumption, will the stock go higher or lower by the end of the day? And I can sell the option before the end of the day. So let's just say Apple right now is at $180 and I buy a call. I'm making the assumption that Apple stock will go higher. So if Apple stock goes from 180 to 180.5, the option contract will increase in value. So the option contract may be $2, right? And for 100, it's going to be $200 per contract. That'll go from 200 to maybe 300 or 400, depending on the expiration, depending on the strike and all these other factors. So you're able to make a bigger return percentage wise off the same move on a stock. So that's what happened in 2020. We got like an influx of people, influx of retail traders just trading options, and some people made good money and some people blew a lot of accounts.
Of course.
Yeah.
No, definitely. So like if you didn't have that leverage, would you have to physically be purchasing the stocks?
Yeah, to trade it. So it's harder to make money, especially for a new person, right? Because imagine you're buying 100 shares of Apple, right? Let's say it's at $170. You have to put in essentially $17,000, which most people starting out don't have. So it's more difficult. That's why I think people are more attracted to Forex, because of the entryway of capital, how low it is. And that's also why people go into options, because you can enter with $200, $300 and make a lot of money.
Yeah. And in terms of like with our side, we can use stop losses, for example.
Yeah, you can use stop losses. Same thing.
Same thing, right?
Same thing.
Okay. So like with the options, is it stop losses?
You can put stop losses. So it's ultimately the price action department, the orders department is the same thing. The one thing about Forex that I learned, and I was talking to him about this, is Forex brokers, like the Forex people have to be careful about brokers, because there's a lot of brokers that aren't regulated. A brokers, B brokers. I still don't know enough about it, but a lot of traders that are trading Forex get screwed over, not from the market, but from the broker, right? So like I said, I don't know enough about it to speak on it fully. And I want to talk about this in a couple of months, right? I was telling you, like, I want to make a video on it and really talk about it. But that is something with the Forex market that I feel bad for, new traders. They get essentially scammed. Right. Because there's not enough regulation, and not that regulation is going to make it all better, right? Because we've seen like a lot of big companies with regulation go down. But it just puts them at a disadvantage, because your brokers are messing you up with different fails, messing you up with different execution points, and yada yada yada. And it's just putting the trader at a disadvantage. Like even if you get into the right trade, you're at a disadvantage on your entry. Right, from the brokers, and these people don't know any better. And the people that are running it are who? Influencers. Right, and influencers that have a following, that have a power, that are screwing people up for money. Right, and we like, and I think this is a space that I think we need to incorporate some level of law, I guess, worldwide, especially for influencers, that if you push something, your name is attached to it. So you're required to do your research. Like look at what happened with FTX, right? So many people invested into, it's not entirely their fault, but no one looked into it. No one kind of paid attention. There was nothing to kind of pay attention to that whole involvement. But now when you go into Forex brokers, people are promoting brokers that are already screwing the customers over, right? And it's like the people that are promoting these brokers are like they know. So they're doing it at the expense of their customers or their audience that believes in them. And it's not fair, because like I said, one advantage I had when I was coming up was there wasn't a lot of noise in the trading markets. So I wasn't getting pulled in different directions in 2012, 2013. The benefit and the negative of today is, the benefit is you can learn from so many people, but then deciphering who's good and who's not good and who's bullshit and who's not is hard. So if you go the right path, it can do wonders for you. You go the wrong path, you get put into this weird situation with this market.
No, definitely. And it's interesting you say that in regards to sort of when you started, that lack of, say, different directions you can go in or choices to make. Do you feel like having the focus then purely on you rather than this community or this influencer, do you think that was such a benefit for you?
I 100%. 100%, because I see it happen with people nowadays, and I'm like, why didn't this happen with me? Like, there's elements of it did happen, but with books, I'll read a book and they'll show you a strategy that works, and you're like, oh my God, I found it. This is it. And you go try it the next couple of days, and it doesn't work, and you go try something else. But it was slower because it's a book, and you're kind of like. I was
gonna say that. How was it learning from a book?
It was weird because. I don't want to say it was weird. It was a little bit difficult because, when like books are great, but I also think you can learn a lot better. Like I can learn a lot better from videos when you see something happening in action, right? But reading a book, you can also misinterpret it the wrong way or look at it from a different point of view. And also mentally, when we learn stuff, whatever strategy or way we look at the market, we immediately go and look for those opportunities in the market. So it's like whenever you learn something new and you go and try to implement it, and I've seen that happen with me, we're already looking at a way to complement that way. So if I learn something new from you today and I look at the market tomorrow, mentally I'm looking at all the facts tomorrow that support what you said. Right. So that becomes like a mental bottleneck. And that happened when I was reading books. I was like, okay, this makes sense because it's in a book. It has to make sense because someone wrote a book, and it can't be a lie. Right. And it's the same concept when you go on YouTube. This guy has 100K subs or 200K subs. They have to know what they're talking about. Right. So you implement that, and it just, you start realizing like some things, not that they don't work. It's market conditions need to match up, and then environments need to match up. And sometimes it's just not a good fit. Yeah.
No, definitely. And in your time, was Mark Douglas a big thing in the stocks world as well?
Mark Douglas, his name sounds familiar. He's the guy with
Trading in the Zone.
Yeah. I read his book. Yeah.
He's a master. He's like the Bible book of Forex.
Yeah.
I'd imagine maybe trading as well.
Yeah,
I think he's talking about stocks, to be fair.
He's more into psychology.
Psychology,
but the psychology carries over into stocks, crypto, Forex, like whatever you do. I think the psychology aspect's same. I've read some of his books. Really, really great books.
Talking about obviously the psychology and the journey, we have touched on two and a half years, right?
Yeah.
To find that sort of consistency. What were the key points in that two and a half years that essentially made you progress, find that consistency?
I think one was me telling myself, hey, I'm going to take trading serious, because I wasn't. So here's my thing, right? I hear traders, like I ask traders questions, how long have you been trading? I've been trading for 5 years. I've been trading for 10 years. Even me, I haven't been trading for 10 years. I've taken my first trade 10 years ago, and my first trade was 10 years ago till now, right? But I haven't really started trading until my second year.
Okay.
Right. And what I mean by that is when I hear traders say I've been trading for 6 years, my question is, okay, Riz, if you traded 6 years ago, what trade did you take this day? What was your reason for this trade? What was your game plan? What was your analytics? So if you've been in business for 6 years, right, my question for your business would be your metrics for the past 6 years. What was your profit and loss statement? What was your balance sheet? Where was your money going? What product did you make the most money from? Yada, 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 right? And as a good business owner, you'll have that data, and you'll be able to identify what works and what doesn't work. For traders, for me, it was keeping a record of all my trades, understanding what trades I was making money, what trades I wasn't making money, why I was making money, why I wasn't making money. So when you ask traders this question, how long you've been trading for me, it comes up with the follow-up question is, let me see your books. Let me see your trading or business books. Most traders don't have that. So they're just blindly opening up positions every day without any sort of context. And I'm like, you haven't been trading for 6 years. You've been gambling for 6 years. That's why you're not profitable. So for me, after like that year and a half in, I was like, hey, I'm not treating this like a business. I need to treat trading like a business. And I was like, okay, if I was to have a business, what are the things I would do? I would have a P&L statement. I would have a balance sheet. I would have all these things to look at my metrics. I'm not doing that for trading. So I started incorporating that into my trading in terms of journaling, right? Let's journal. Let's look at all my analytics that are important to understand what is working, what is not working, what strategies work, under what market conditions, right? Because you can have a strategy that, let's say, does very well. In our, like in the stock world, right, I started realizing, like, hey, there's big economic data coming out this week. Whatever strategy you have isn't going to work because the market's unsure what to do. I learned that through experience. Now you can hear someone making a short form clip and talking about it, and you get it. At that point, I was like, okay, this makes sense. I got it. Like these are small little things. Then you go into looking at the gaps, like how is the market opening up from yesterday's session? Is it gapping up, gapping down? When it gaps up, what strategies are making sense? What strategies should I use? How does the market respond to certain economic events? How does the market respond to certain news, right? Then it goes into how do I, from a mental point, respond to myself on a psychological level? How do I respond when I have a big trade on the open? Oh, wow, I realize when I have a big trade on the open, I size up more to make more money. And then my second trade gives all my profits back plus more. How do I respond when a stock hits my stop or a trade hits my stop? When it hits my stop, I mentally convince myself that it's going to go higher. So instead of me losing $100 on a trade, I lose $400 because I want to hold on to this particular trade because I mentally convince myself it'll go higher. So when I started tracking these elements within my trading, I'm like, wow, I am a lost cause. Like, I am a mess. Like, there's no consistency. I don't have a real strategy. My focus or strategy in the market's different. My risk is based on how I'm feeling for the day. One day I'm feeling good, so I'll risk 1,000. Another day I'm risking $50 because I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. So my risk element's not the same. When a trade goes green, I take profit very quickly because I see green and I'm like, I don't want to miss the green. And I'm like, what? And then when I have those problems in front of me, now I'm like, okay, I have these 10, 12 problems. My goal is to work on these problems, fix the problems, and take it from there. So in simple way, my biggest thing was tracking, journaling, analyzing my days, my trades day by day, and then actively working on all of them and increasing my time horizon. Like, I wasn't like, I need to get trading down in 2 months. If not, I'm going to quit. No, I'm going to give this like a real career. I'm going to give it 2-3 years with real work, real effort, real focus, and then see what happens in 2-3 years. If it doesn't work in 2-3 years with me knowing that I gave it my 100%, then cool, that's not for me. But I can't walk away right now and say trading isn't for me when I half-assed it, right? So it's like focus, don't half-ass it, focus on the key metrics, focus on things, and just keep an open mind and always learning. Even if you have a good week, don't get ahead of yourself because the market will hand it right back to you. So you have a good week. Okay, I'm still a student. Keep that up. And I've kept that mindset since that point till now. Even now, when I have big months and I'll have $1 million month, a $500,000 month, I'm like, okay, can I do it again? Can I do it again? Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't think it's going to keep coming. Don't forget the small little things that I was doing in the beginning. Just because I'm making money now or I'm on a hot streak, don't stop doing those little things. And that's what happens with traders, right? Because it's easy to see things working and flowing and you're like, okay, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. It's okay. I got it. I'm great. But then when you look at it, you're like, no, I just kind of went down the wrong rabbit hole by not doing those small things anymore.
Definitely. There's a lot.
I know. I went like, yeah.
No, it's good. It's really good because it's the truth. That's your journey and that's where it went. But in terms of like the journaling side, back then I would imagine you could correct me if I'm wrong, but there wasn't probably software to give you metrics even at a basic level.
There was, and I'll talk about them. TradeView. People probably heard of TradeView. TradeView was, I think, the first one in stocks. I think the guy Greg, his name is. He started in 2012. He recently sold the company in 2020. I don't know for how much, but I heard a good number. But he started it, so shout out to him for coming into the space and creating something cool. But
so is that what gave you the insights originally, the metrics?
I used it, but no disrespect to TradeView, and I think they created a nice pivot in the space, but it lacked a lot of things. Okay. Right? So there were some things that they had that were cool, but there were some things that they had on like a psychological level, on a deeper trade level that didn't incorporate like for example, if you take a trade, right, and you see a trade and you see you made $2,000, what is your first impression of the trade? Oh, I made $2,000. I did a good job. Yeah. But now what if I show you a quick metric that says at one point you were down 6,000 on the trade, at one point you were down up 14,000 on the trade. You look at that trade and you're like, wow, this trade has been all over the place. I made 2K, but why was I down 6K? My stop loss was 1,500. I didn't follow my stop, so I essentially got lucky. And then if you look at another trade, maybe you were up 14,000, but you closed at 2,000. Wait, what? I was up 14 grand and I didn't sell? So there's small metrics like that we've incorporated in TradeZella. And I don't want to make this like a sponsorship thing, but just, right? So
we'll talk about it.
It's like those metrics become very important because now you can kind of open the drawer on a trade and see the behind the scenes. Like, hey, what was my best exit on this trade? Like I made $1,800, but I could have made like 15,000 on the trade. I could have made this much. Not that you should go back on a trade and always be like the what ifs, but imagine you have 30 trades and every trade you look at in the 30 trades, about 20 of them you sold early, and something tells you sold early. Now, your job should be to go back and be like, why did I sell here? Oh, I realize why I keep selling. I keep panicking. I see a higher number. I see I make 1,000. I get excited. I sell. Or maybe it hits a certain level that I think is resistance or is supply, but it's actually not supply. So I'm messing up on that. Okay, I need to work on something. So when you actively keep doing those things and you put your focus into narrowing down those mistakes, I think it makes the journey a lot easier and better.
Definitely. So like, being able to get that level of insight back then, was it something you had to do yourself?
I was just manually doing it. I still have journals in like New York. I want to get it. I want to post it one day if I find it. But I know it's somewhere around the house. I have legit pre-market game plans, aftermarket notes. What do I think happened? Why did I do this? Why did I do that? And I like, there's days I'm like super hard on myself. You're such an idiot. You got so greedy. You were up this much. You didn't want to do it. This is what you get. This is what you deserve. Like I have like legitimate.
Did you have moments where you'd say that? Let's say like one day you're like, you're an idiot. You're oversized. You overdid this, and then you said, do this better next time, like as in like,
I would make
do
a
this,
plan.
this and this. But then the next day you did the same thing and you said the same thing, like, you're an idiot, you just said this yesterday.
Yeah, I've had days like that where I've just carried the same thing, and that goes into just having a level of discipline, right? Because I think the ultimate discipline, like when you watch boxing, right, and when you like really pay attention to boxing, a lot of boxing besides speed and power is discipline, knowing when to throw a punch, knowing when not to throw a punch, knowing when to defend yourself, doing all those things. So when you go and watch Mayweather, right, he is the world's best boxer in my opinion because he's extremely disciplined. If you watch all his fights, not from like an excitement point, like, oh my God, he's not an exciting fighter, but from like a purely technical point of view, you start seeing how disciplined he is. He knows I'm not going to throw a punch. He's very accurate with his punches. When he does throw, he's most likely going to land. He has a high accuracy, right? So his discipline level is what got him super far. But now when you look at Mayweather outside of his life, he's disciplined everywhere. Every part of his life. Like he doesn't drink. You ask him, why don't you drink? Why am I going to drink? Why am I going to impact my boxing? He takes care of his sleep, his health, like every single thing. He's like on it, right? So trading is relatively the same thing. You're in front. You have an opponent that tests the market. Are you going to take every single swing at the market that gives you a little hole? Or are you going to say, I'm going to find the best opportunities and I'm going to stay patient on my hands, sitting like this and wait for that opportunity to come? That takes an extreme level of patience and discipline. Now, some people may magically have it naturally. Some people don't. I didn't have it. I didn't have the patience. I've developed into like this patient person with the markets and everything else in my life. And that took years and years of working on myself and understanding that I need to be patient, not just in the markets, but outside of markets.
Yes.
Right? Because you can't just turn on a switch that's like, okay, time for me to be patient, time for me to be disciplined. No, the discipline, patience, and all those things need to carry on throughout your whole life. Like, for example, if you go work out and you say, hey, tomorrow at 6 a.m., I'm going to wake up and I'm going to go work out. Wake up, go tomorrow, work out at 6 a.m. You told yourself you're going to do it. It's hard, do it.
Yeah.
Your mind starts getting wired to, taking on the challenge, doing the hard things. So in trading, that carries over because you're sitting down and you're like, okay, this is not a good trade. I'm not going to execute. I'm not going to put on a trade. I'm not going to put on size. I'm not going to do the things I told myself I'm not going to do, and I'll do the things I told myself I am going to do. And you'll see that correlation happen.
Definitely. I think what you touched on there is very, very important in terms of discipline. I think it starts all with your word.
Yeah.
I think it's the biggest one. Because I think a lot of people, they don't stick to their word nowadays. And one thing I want to touch on with your analogy, I love boxing as well. And I use an analogy from boxing quite a lot. But one of the main ones that you touched on there in terms of discipline is also like, everyone said, oh, you're a boring fighter, or you pick your fights and all that. But yeah, he still kept his discipline.
Yeah. Yeah.
How easy, if he wasn't disciplined, he would have, okay, let me pick a hard opponent. Could have ruined his record. Or let me make an exciting fight.
Yeah, not even that. If you go to some of his fights, and it's funny, I was watching his fights 2 days ago. I don't know what sparked, and I was like, I want to watch it. You pay attention to him and other boxers. It's like when he's in tough situations in like the ring and people are swinging and the crowd's getting excited and he's like dodging punches, but the other guy's building momentum, he doesn't lose his composure.
Yes.
And he doesn't start recklessly swinging. When you go watch other boxers and you look at the same mindset,
Look at Anthony Joshua.
Yeah,
right?
they lose composure.
People
That's
say
it.
you got boring fights.
Yeah.
You're trying to be a boxer. We want knockouts. What happened with Andy Ruiz?
Exactly.
Right? And then as he got hit, what happened after that?
Exactly.
Like
Yeah. So those things carry over to every aspect of life. Just hunting, waiting for that trade, waiting for the setups, waiting for it to come to you. And that requires so much patience and discipline and work within. And I think if traders can work on that as well as working on their technical side and their fundamental sides, those things are going to interconnect.
So one thing you talked about there was in regards to journaling, right? And you talked about how people don't journal.
Yeah.
Even to this day, people don't journal.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I don't know why they don't journal. I think it's laziness. One, I know it's tedious. It is a tedious task.
Yeah.
So what do you say to those people? Did you ever find it tedious yourself?
Yeah, it was when I journaled at the beginning, it was tedious because I wasn't taking all the trades from my broker and I had to manually do everything. But it's like with, let's say TradeZella, for example, you can connect to MT4, MT5, hit a sync, all your trades come down. Yes, you have to go through them individually, so it does become tedious, but it's like, do you not want to be good? Right? So you go to basketball, right? You go to football, anything, you have players that watch film. Right? They're not just working out and showing up on the field. They're watching film, how they're other party
If they
or
want
other
to be
team.
the best.
If they want to be the best, if they as a team, as individuals, they're boxers. They're watching other boxers' films. They're watching old boxers' films just to see what they do, how they respond. So it's like, as traders, you want to look at your data. You want to see, why did you take this trade? Why did you exit? Why did you enter? All these things. And when you build on that, you start learning so much, right? I was actually talking to someone that uploaded their trades on TradeZella, and I was just running them through the platform. And when they uploaded, they're like, I can't find, like, my strategy doesn't look good. And I was just going through their trades, and I was like, why'd you get in here? Why'd you get out? Like, I kept asking, they're like, holy shit, I see what I'm doing. Just something very small. They're like, the moment the trade goes a little green, I sell. But the aftermath of the trade is they would short, get out, and then like 2 minutes later, it would go lower. And it would consistently happen. And they had stops in place, but they weren't following their stops, right? They weren't letting the stops hit. It's just so many different variables. But when they looked at their data, they're like, wow, I got 3 points that I'm not following. And the only way you learn is the only way you build on that is by actually writing things down and looking at it, right? And it's not just journaling your trades and trading. I'm saying journal your life. Like, what is your thought process? How do you think? Why do you think the way you think? Write down when you feel a certain way. Why is this getting me mad? Why is this making me happy? How do I feel? What's causing me to feel this way, right? So it's the same thing if you go to a therapist, right? And you have mood swings or you feel good and bad some days, they'll ask you to journal. Right? They'll ask you to write down notes. When you wake up, what do you feel? What did you do throughout your day? What caused this reaction? So when you start journaling, even in your personal life, you start becoming more self-aware of yourself, more self-aware of your surroundings, and more self-aware of your reactions, right? Because it's easy for me to look at you and judge you and like be very good at looking at you, but it's hard for you to do that on your own because you're so into yourself. You know what I mean? So for us, our job is to kind of look at ourselves from an outside perspective in personal life and trading. And I think the best way to do that is to journal, track, and analyze.
Definitely. And as you made this transition then to journaling, you mentioned earlier about as well, like, outside of life, you need to be disciplined too. Is that something that you put a focus on around a similar time?
Yeah.
Or
So
have you always been disciplined?
Yeah, I wasn't at a point, but I remember where I was like, hey, I really want to, like, my thing when I was younger was I want to become rich, right? Like, obviously, as every young kid, you want to make money, you want to, like, yada, 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 be it for the right reasons or bad reasons. It's just, that's the end goal. So I was like, I want to be rich, right? But I don't believe I was working hard enough, and I don't believe I was pushing myself outside of my limits. So I was like, what are some things I hate doing? I was like, I hate waking up in the morning, which I hate waking up in the morning early, right? I was like, okay, what am I going to incorporate in my life that is going to push me to do that? I was like, okay, every day 6 a.m. I'm going to wake up, I'm going to go for a jog, or I'm going to go to gym. And in the beginning stages, I would do it one day, miss two, do one. And then one day I was like, yo, I can't even stay true to one thing I told myself I'm going to do. How do I expect the world to give me what I want if I can't give myself what I want? So it was, okay, I'm going to wake up every day and do the thing that's very hard for me, which is going for a run and going to the gym in the morning. So for 2-3 months, I think I was like 19 or something, or 20, I forgot how old, but I was doing that consistently and just pushing myself and putting myself in environments that I was very uncomfortable in. I used to have a tough time communicating with people.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to put myself in networking events, even though I think they're personally a waste of time, depending on what network event, but overall now I think, but at that point it wasn't that. It was like, how do I put myself around more people and just conversate? How do I learn to have small talk? Because I sucked at it, right? How do I learn to communicate with people? Like, different areas of my life that I wanted to work on and just push myself outside of just one element. Yeah.
So like recognizing where your flaws are and recognizing where you can do better. But most of all, I think the biggest thing, as we said already, is sticking to your word.
Yeah.
Because I think if you don't stick to your word, that'll just continue. Like,
No,
how do you expect to say, I'm going to risk manage, I'm going to be disciplined in my trading, I'm going to make sure I take profit here, or make sure I only take 2 trades a week if that's my rule, if you can't go to the gym, right? When you said you're going to go to the gym.
It's a very small thing, but it's, people might say, no, I'm disciplined. And I'm like, okay, find the most difficult thing for yourself and do it for 30 days straight.
Yeah.
If you can't do it for 30 days straight, let's say wake up at 6 in the morning and go to the gym. And I mean 6 a.m. You said 6 a.m., do it at 6 a.m. You can't do that. I'll tell you right now, you're going to do well in trading. It's just not, right? It's like you need to find those areas where you can really push yourself and push yourself to be extremely disciplined to achieve a level of success.
Definitely. And you said obviously 2.5 years in, that's when you started to make this that's when the consistency started to form.
Consistency in terms of like I wasn't green every day, but I would have an understanding of, okay, I see what I did wrong. Okay, I got it. Oh, okay, I found a good setup. I know how to execute on it. I started getting more flow. I'd have bigger green weeks, and then I'd have a red week, and the red week wouldn't consume me. I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I had a red week. Now it's going to bleed over to the next couple of months. But okay, I had a red week. It's okay. It's normal. I'm going to get myself out of it. A red day, I'll get myself out of it. So I started being a little bit more calm, collected, and responding to the bad trading.
Yeah. Okay. No, definitely. And from there, what was the scaling like, or like the journey like from there? Then you started to see this consistency. I would imagine. What was the capital like at that point?
So I think at that time when I was 2.5 years in, I was probably trading with like 60, 70 grand.
Okay.
But now where did that 60, 70 grand come from is a big question. I took money out of credit cards.
Wow. You did.
Not the smartest thing, because I spoke about this in an interview like when I was 23, and people were like, oh, I'm going to do the same thing. I don't recommend to do that. Like, don't do that. Don't. Because people love to look at someone else, and when they did something, it's like,
he did it.
He did it. So, no. Just don't do that. Because, so what I did when I was 18, I applied for credit cards. I got a few credit cards. So by the time I was like 20, my limits increased. I was requesting limit increase and yada, yada, yada. So I had like 4 or 5 credit cards with like 15,000, 20,000. They were giving cashbacks, cash advance checks or whatever at like 24 months, 0% interest. So I maxed all of them out and took capital because I needed capital, right? And looking back, it was very stupid. It gave me the capital, which was cool, and I was like, good. But that could have gotten really, really, really bad. And it's like, thank God. But if I was to go back, would I do it again? Probably not. Just because it's like, if that went bad.
Knowing what you know now, you wouldn't, right?
Knowing what I know now, yeah. Like at that point, with the knowledge I had and everything I had, I wouldn't take that type of risk. It was a risk that I was taking that I would like to also place a sprinkle of luck on it. Be like, yes, it wasn't just like, oh my God, I worked hard, luck played a role somehow. But out of 1,000 people that do it, 1 or 2, they'll be good. So I don't recommend doing that.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
But then from there, you mentioned obviously you did 7 million in a single year. So
that came in 2021. That was my 7th or 8th year trading.
Yep.
So to run you through that story, 2019, I made $1 million something. 2020 is when I had the $500,000 loss, but I walked out that year, I think making 2.1 total for the year. But also in that year, crazy part, 2020, 2.1, 2.2, I don't know exactly, but somewhere around there. 1 month I made $1 million, which was February of 2020. I made $1 million trading, right? And by the way, once again, people are going to watch this, the Forex people like, oh my God, he's lying and yada, yada, yada. TD Ameritrade is what I traded on. They're a regulated broker, right? I have videos on my Instagram, me logging into the broker, not a screenshot. It's not like because I know with Forex, people have things where they'll adjust and do stuff and whatnot. I learned that the hard way. With TD Ameritrade, you can't do that. With a lot of these regulated American brokers, you can't do that, right? So I made $1 million in February of 2020. And then I ended the year at 2 million. So that just shows you, like, in 1 month I made 50% of the profits. But that also came from that downside period of me losing $500,000 on that one trade, going through like a downfall mentally and whatever, and then slowly recovering towards the end of the year, right? Yeah. Now the $7.5 million year, majority of the money I made came after August, July and August. Wow. So I maybe made about $4 to $5 million from July till December. The first 2 million came on the first 6 months of the year. Now, the way that happened, and this is what I always tell traders, is that trading is not something that's linear. Meaning, if you make 100K in January, let's say you make 10K in January, doesn't mean you're gonna go and make 20,000 in February, or you should make 20,000, right? The market conditions in January may be extremely good. The trading environment may be great. Going into February, that may change. So it's harder to kind of expect or assume the same opportunities, right? Depending on the trading, yada, 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 right? So for me, the first 6 months, I was close to $2 million in profits. And I thought I was going to close the year at 3, maybe 4 with the pace I was going at. And then it was August of 2021 where I took a trade on a firm. And the crazy part is before I took the trade, I tweeted about it. I put it out. I'm taking this trade. And that trade, I think the first trade made me 700 grand. So I took the trade, made 700 grand. And that built momentum. Then I took another trade, made me $500,000. Took another trade, 80K, another trade, 60K. Now, because I made such a large amount of money in August, I kept that momentum and size going into the next month. Okay. So the next month I was able to make $1 million. And the cool part about that was because my risk was so inflated, I was able to take the size. Now, one thing I want to be clear on, because I don't want to throw people off and have the false expectations. The trades I was making that I made, let's say $500,000 on, I wasn't risking $5,000. I was risking like 150, 180,000. Like I was risking some size.
1 to
right,
2,
yeah.
1 to 3, 1 to
3 to
4.
1. Like the good trades, like the good trade, I probably had like 4 to 1, 5 to 1. I had like 8 to 1 trades too. And it was just kind of like, it's going in my favor. I took some size off, just let it keep riding. Oh man, it's moving way more than I thought, right? And then my risk for September increased. Now, day trades I was taking, I was risking 30,000, 40,000, making 100, making 120, making 150, maybe making 80. And that went on for like 3.5 weeks. And then I got to a point where I was like, hey, I'm doing good and I have a lot of momentum, but let me take a step back, which is the opposite of what most people would do, right?
Yeah,
they're
definitely
doing so well, they're going to keep going. I took a week off, right? I think it was in October. I took a whole week off. I was like, I need to recalibrate myself right now because I've had 2 back-to-back $1 million months. First time I had 2 back-to-back $1 million months, and I can see how I feel already. And I see like it's weird, and I'm pretty sure traders can relate to this. Every trade I would take, I would hit, and I was like, no, like I feel my confidence and ego getting way more than I wanted to get out.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know where this leads to because I've been in this predicament before, right? Definitely. Where next thing I do is I put on massive size and I get burned. So I was like, I need to take a week off. I need to process all of this. I need to come back. Then I took a week off and I was able to keep the momentum, not at the same scale.
Yeah.
I didn't have $1 million month after September and August of that year, but I was able to keep the momentum of making $500,000 or 600K a month, keep going, right? Just because I was like, okay, I'm getting close to the year. I don't want to push. And the crazy part is $7.5 million in 2021. And then you go to 2022, I think I was at 1.4. Right. So it's like you see the shifts in the market that happen in terms of like profit wise. And also with that, just to give context, in 2022, I was focused on the majority of the year on building TradeZella. So my time and energy were into that. I also took my first break from trading for like 3-4 months and I just completely stepped away from charts. And that was the first time I did that for that long since I entered the market.
Did you do that on purpose because of the big year?
So most of it was because of trading. Because of TradeZella.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to build TradeZella. So I took some time off because at the end of January or something, I felt burnt out. Like I was destroyed, right?
Like that, yeah.
Because I'm writing out the year. I have like such a big year. I start the year strong. I'm building this momentum, and you know, when you're putting on size, it gets very, very exhausting. I know it looks cool from the outside. People might say, oh, well, this person's making X amount, but it's like when you're risking 40, 50, or 100,000 a trade, and you know that the possibility of you being wrong is there, it does wear you down, right? Like there's not a single time I went in a trade, I'm like, I know I'm right. I go into a trade, I'm like, okay, if I'm wrong, this is what I'm allocating. This is where I will know I'm wrong. These are the indications that'll say, hey, I'm wrong. Take the trade. Okay, it's working. If it doesn't work, and even when it does work, you still have that fear factor in the back of your mind. And over a long period of time, that just tears you down. Definitely. So I took a break. I think it was February. I took the break and I was like, and it just extended way longer than I wanted it to.
It happens, man. At the end of the day, like, especially when you've done a year like that and the journey like that, I feel like sometimes people need that.
Yeah.
You know, and it probably did you more benefits than anything else.
Yeah.
But getting to that point, so there's probably a lot that we may have not skipped over, but there's probably other points that we could go into, no doubt. But $1 million in a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that like, considering the start was 20K, losing the 20K pretty much, to then $1 million in a single month?
I think when you get to that point, and because there's a lot of years in between, you in the moment you don't really think about it. I think even when I hit it, I didn't really I was like, oh my God, I hit, because that was 2020. I just moved to Miami, was settled down, was focused purely on trading for that whole month. The market was also giving us really, really good moves. I was trading SPY, I was trading Tesla. That was two names just giving us astronomical moves. And I was able to just ride out that wave. And I was able to, execute at a high level. So when I did look at the month, I was like, wow, and that was my first time. Yeah. But also my first time was in February of 2020. And I didn't hit my second $1 million month until August of 2021. So during that whole a year and a half, my biggest thing in my head, which was kind of daunting, was, did I get lucky? I don't think I can do it again.
Did you find yourself trying to chase it?
There was a few times I did. There was a few times where I was like, okay, I think I'm going to go for it. And I kept having to, grab myself and say, okay, you're putting yourself in a bad situation. You're chasing something, because it's also, it's human nature. You hit a certain level, you want to at least replicate that or go higher. So when you don't hit that scale again for a really long time, it becomes very detrimental. So when I looked at like sports figures and like people and playing sports at very high levels, they reach the stage in life and then they come down and then they try to chase the stage. Because they try to chase it again, they never get there.
Okay.
So I was like, listen, if it ever happens again, cool. My job is to stay alive as long as possible. I'm trying to stay here for another 10 years, right? And I won't be able to do that if I chase something. Don't chase it. Just show up, trade, react, respond to the market. When it happens, it'll happen.
Because obviously, imagine at that point, that's 7 figures now. You're tapping into that 7 figures. By that point, you probably had 7-figure years rather than months. So did you learn those lessons of the danger of chasing back, say, when it was maybe the tens of thousands or the 6 figures?
I did, but I learned it, but I think with new levels, I always say new levels, new devils, right? It's like you hit this point of like, you're like, it's different. Like you mentally convince yourself it's different. Even though you went through a similar experience at a lower scale, it's the same thing, but it feels different because it's like...
It still repeats itself, right?
It comes up. It still comes up. And even till this day, mistakes I've maybe made year 3 in trading, I make now. It's not like I don't make mistakes. I make mistakes. We make, technical mistakes. Like there's mistakes. I've taken a trade where I was looking to short, but I actually went long. And I was like, wow, I'm such an amateur. I've been doing this for so long. Like I'm making this mistake. Right? Yeah. But it happens, right? And you just laugh it off sometimes. Like I laugh it off, and sometimes it's not. I can't laugh it off because I just, screwed myself in the foot.
No, definitely. And I'm sure it's good for people to hear that. Because I think that there's a false expectation of perfection.
Yeah.
When you make it in trading, you're going to know exactly where a pair is going to go or a tradable asset's going to go, because you can read it like a book and you'll be perfect every single time. And I think that fantasy is causing a lot of traders, as it always probably in the past as well, but especially now, it's causing a lot of traders a lot of hardship that they don't have to face if they remove that fantasy from their mind.
Yeah, I think people put themselves in a tough situation. And also, I don't think you ever really make it in trading. That's another thing. I think people, going back to like the aha moment thing, I don't like making it somewhere is cool, but staying there is the hard part, right? So it's like when you go into music, like I look at Drake, right? Drake is amazing, not because of the music he makes, but because he's been relevant for 12, 13 years, right? So when you go into trading, I look at it like, okay, last year I made X amount. That doesn't mean I will make X amount this year. I need to work harder again to make it again. So it's the same approach. Like it's a mentality I have. Just because today I made 10,000 doesn't mean tomorrow I'll make 10,000. I need to work for it again tomorrow, right? So when it's a toxic thing. Some people may look at it toxic, but whatever the case may be, I look at it like, okay, you made this much last month, or you did this much, and I'll say in my head, do that shit again. I'll have a big month, do that shit again. I'll have a big day, do that shit again, right? And it's like, if you want to stay in this game for a long period of time and you want to quote unquote make it, you have to play it as day one, right? Because the moment you think you made it, the market will like just come under and snatch it, right? So even when I had my big years or big months, I would be like that energy in my head, like, okay, do that shit again, right? And it's not going and making the same amount of money or performing at an elite level, but do it again in a way where I'm still here, I'm still present, right?
Just make sure it's not lucky.
Yeah, because you know people in this industry that from 2012 to 2013, 2014, 2015, I've seen people come and go. I'm not talking about 1 or 2 people. I've seen from 2014, I've seen people, 2015, 2016. I've seen people in 2020 that came and gone now.
Yeah.
So there's very few people that I can say in this industry that have stayed and have stayed at the top.
Yeah.
Right. Forex world, I don't really know. I'm talking about like
It's
trading.
the same, yeah.
Like there's very few people that have stayed and stayed at a high level for, and my thing has always been like, yeah, if I'm going to stay here, I want to stay at a high level for as long as I play this game of trading. The moment I want to exit trading, I want to do it on my own terms. I don't want trading to exit me out.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want it to be like, oh my God, I blew my account. I need to leave. I need to quit. No, I want to leave trading when I'm like, hey, I'm tired of trading. I quit. And I want to do it my way. But for me to do that, I need to protect my risk. I need to protect my capital. And I need to stay alive as long as I possibly can in the trading world. Yeah.
Definitely, man. And we are coming towards the end of time. We still got plenty of time in terms of what we can get through, but we have to do it.
Let's go.
Not speed, but like
Sure.
nice and concise. So the 500K loss.
Yeah.
Right. You publicly did it. We touched on it a bit, but what was that like? Obviously, what was that moment when you had the closeout or feel that?
There was no closeout. It just went to zero.
Oh, wow.
So for options, especially
like
for
margin call, if you
it
will.
just goes to zero. 500K, it all goes to zero.
Was that a separate like sort of an account you put?
No, it was a
on that
public
trade?
one account that I started. That's the account I made $1 million. Right, I forgot what it was at that point. I was made $1 million, $1.2 million, $1.2 million, $3 or whatever it was. Lost $500,000. My account went to like 600K or something. I don't remember the exact number. So it was that one public account that I was trading on. So people saw it. People bashed me for it. And mentally it hurt. Financially, I took it like a champ. I was like, whatever. It was more like the emotional aspect. Oh man, I got so many people in this trade because of me. People followed. I was able to take the loss. Maybe someone put the whole life savings in, and it kind of hurt me at that point.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And then it's kind of like your mindset throughout your journey, even from the start, was the losses are kind of like, they are personal to you in the sense that you need to fight back.
Yeah.
And you need to win, essentially. Yeah. So it sounds like, even having such a huge loss in that fashion didn't end up putting you down.
I did. The next 3 trades I took after I lost money. I shorted Tesla, boom, lost money. Shorted Zillow, lost money. Shorted something else. Like I took 3 trades and I just blew like another 80 or 100 grand. And I was like, wait, I'm going to take a 3-month break or 2-month break. So I took a break after.
Okay. And during that break, was there anything in particular that you thought about or anything?
Nothing. I disconnected from the market. I don't look at the markets. I don't do anything with them. I just disconnected. I was like, let me disconnect and just kind of live life, I guess. There's life outside of the markets, and they did that just to kind of recalibrate myself and so on. Yeah.
No, I think that's important. I think a lot of people who find themselves just going in cycles over and over, I give them the same advice.
Yeah.
Just, even if it's a week, just stop.
Yeah.
And the thing I say to them is make sure you don't look at a chart. Don't even turn up to a community or nothing.
Yeah, because you build mental blind spots, and the only way to work on your mental blind spots is to look away from that situation for long enough so your mind can refix it and relook at it from a new perspective.
I respect that 100%. Yeah. TradeZella, a big one. First of all, where did the name come from? Because I love the name.
So the name was so just like how Apple has Siri, Amazon has Alexa. Our mission is to build Zella, which will help be the voice for traders. We're not where we want it to be yet, but that's what we're building towards, right? Like you come on, you put in some trades, Zella will come and guide you through. These are things you messed up on. These are things you can do better on. This is what we think you can improve. These are certain metrics. Like it's kind of like your trading partner, buddy, friend, coach.
Like Jarvis.
Yeah, exactly. So
from Iron Man, by the way.
Yeah. So that's what it is. That's how the name came, because I was like, I don't want it to be a boring name. I think names and brands that you really built are important.
Very important.
So I was like, Zella is the character that we're gonna call her, and she's going to be the coach, the mentor, whatever for people. Yeah,
I like it. No, that's amazing. I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah.
I didn't even have anything in mind, to be fair. But that's
but we haven't pushed that narrative yet. You'll see in like the next 2 months we start pushing that narrative, because we don't have the features and functionality to support that yet. So we haven't brought Zella live, which we are now.
Was it because of the pivotal change in your journey, collecting data, seeing data, that obviously is the passion behind TradeZella?
Yeah, 100%. So for me, it was like, hey, this has been a big thing for me. And I was like, I would build something that I want to use a certain way, and I can build it. So like I said, early on, it was being built for the trading floor I was working on in California at the time. And then I was like, okay, well, I think I can build it for masses. That's where the whole idea came from. And I wanted to build something for myself that I think was beneficial, because I am a trader. I'm not like, most programs are built by developers, designed by developers, ran by developers, not by a trader.
You can see that.
Right? So there's small details that are important that aren't important. So for me, it was like, hey, what can I build that works with, traders, that will help them, give them value, and I want to control it in terms of I want to lead it that way, because that space isn't being focused on enough. So that's where it was to just elevate that market.
No, definitely. And, you know, I've seen like the metrics behind it. Obviously, as you said, that you're still building it out,
Yeah.
but I've seen so in detail, so the quality is so high in terms of the interface, you know, and I think that's something, again, people lack the intention of quality, when I think quality makes the biggest difference in anything that you do, even like the podcast, for example. The quality makes the difference. So like, what was your thought process going into that space?
So my thought process, my thing is always, whenever I attach my name to something, be it anything, I want to push out the best work that I possibly can, right? So if I don't go wow by it, it's not good. And like my expectations of things are extremely high, right? So I'm like, I know if I like it, it'll be good, because I'm so like nitty gritty with details and so knowing about stuff, right? So it was always like, whatever we do has to be done to a perfection level. We have to really make sure we narrow it down. Even like if I show you our design process of how we design a new feature, how we go, it's very, very extensive, right? To make sure that it can benefit traders. Like one feature we're working on now, which will maybe be out by the time this is out or not, we're aiming for June, is a place where traders that are taking prop challenges, they can track all of their challenges in one place. How many they failed, how many they passed, why they failed, like in one place, right? So that came to me from seeing the prop space blow up, and I'm like, well, people are taking multiple tests. What if they had one place to see what they're doing right or wrong? Because when you look at different platforms, you can't see why you're failing, why you're passing. So we've broken that, we ripped that whole thing apart, and we've been spending 3 weeks on the thought process. Then we spend like 3-4 weeks on design, and then we implement it. So it's a very thorough process to make sure, hey, we want to build something that benefits you, not just something that looks nice but doesn't work well, but we want to make sure the quality, the look, the feel, the touch, everything is good.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I can't wait to see the expansion of TradeZella. So honestly,
Appreciate
and I think,
that.
you know, with who you are and everything you've done in your journey, I have no doubt it will probably take over the whole space. I think that vision that you have in terms of Zella, I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to have a relationship with it.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
But yeah, just as we're finishing up then, the quick fire questions. That's what I finish up on.
Sure.
And the first one, the one that I have kept reoccurring since I started quick fire questions, is if you could meet anyone in the past or present, famous or not, doesn't matter who it is, there's no right or wrong answer, just to sit down and spend time with or learn from, who would it be and why?
I have a lot of people in mind. 2 people that I mean, one person would be Elon, but I don't know what I would ask him. I think like that's one person that's cool and like very revolutionizing in what he's doing, but I don't know what conversations I could have with him, if I'm being honest. But a second person I would really love to have conversations with is Kobe. He passed away, but he's one person, because going back to your mindset question early on, I've learned a lot of mindset things from him. I just started thinking, because of the Mamba mentality and the way he operates, that's where a lot of it came from. So I would love to go deeper into his mind and how he operates, just to kind of understand that mentality. Yeah,
definitely. I think you embody it already from your journey anyway, and from meeting you as well. So I kind of saw that one coming. But it's incredible. No, absolutely incredible. And so just 2 more quick fire questions. So one being the wins and losses. So as you said, you had a record-breaking year, 7 million in a single year, down to, what was it, 2?
The low month.
The one after. Sorry,
the one after was about 1.4.
Yeah. So I say low, but
but
in comparison, how did you handle that then? You know, because then a lot of people, as we know, and as you know, throughout the journey, I've experienced myself, where you have 1 million, or you have a large win, but then you're trying to replicate or exceed.
Sure.
So then when you had this this sizable difference between the two, what was that like?
It didn't bother me, because I traded maybe 3 or 4 months out of the year. Like I said, the other couple of months I was focused on TradeZella. So it wasn't like I was 100% committed to trading. I was committed to other parts of my life, TradeZella and a few other businesses I was working on. So my time and energy went into that. So I was okay with, I knew I wasn't going to make the same amount, because when I did make that large sum, I was in front of my computer every day, looking at markets, fully, focused and attentive to everything going on. But the next year I wasn't. So I can't really be upset
Of course, yeah.
at it, right? Because like 6 months I didn't even look at the markets, so it wasn't a big mental hit. But if I was showing up every day and yada yada yada, yes, I think mentally it would weigh me down. Like, oh my god, I'm trying to chase this number. I'm trying to get close to it. Why am I so off from it?
And Do you invest in other things?
Yeah, stocks, real estate, things like that. I'm trying to get into like investing in businesses in a couple of years.
Definitely.
But my thing right now is just heavily focused on building things.
Yeah.
Right, TradeZella being one of them, and the other company I was talking to you about being another one. So it's like if I do invest in something, it's like how do I make sure it doesn't require my time or attention, because you can park money in some lucrative investments and make 10%, 5% year over year, or whatever the case may be. But it's like, that's not worth my time if I have to attend to it.
Yeah.
Right now, I'd rather go all in on businesses. Like in TradeZella, we own 100% family owned, me and my sisters, and we have no outside investors. We don't want outside investors. So if any investment is needed, I'd rather go in my pocket and invest it, right, than to go and get someone to invest.
Of course, yeah.
Right. Same thing with the new businesses we're starting. I'd rather invest my money into it because I believe in it, opposed to going and getting a partner or getting someone. So that investment to me is more important because I want to have the control. I want us to be able to build together without having outside influence.
Definitely. So final question for you. What would your top 3 tips to traders out there wanting to progress and excel?
Sure. Tip number 1 is create your time horizon, make it longer, right? Don't put the pressure of becoming good at trading in 3 months. Say, hey, I'm going to become good at trading in 2 or 3 years, right? Go with that. You'll build more comfortability. And during that time period, just focus on staying alive. Don't focus on making tons of money. Second, focus on small wins. When I say small wins in trading, everyone looks at successful or failure trading by money. Right? Yes, after a certain point, that's what it comes down to. But starting out, your wins and losses have to be about, was I able to identify my problems? Was I then able to work on my problems? If you identify a problem this month and you work on it next month, it may not reflect on your P&L as you'd like, but that is a win, and give yourself a pat on the back. Because I think traders, when they don't see results financially, like, oh, I made $1,000 or I made $2,000, they get very demotivated. Oh, I'm not doing good because I haven't made money for a month. But no, in a month, you were able to experience the market, learn about yourself, and still stay alive or have a very minimal drawdown. That to me is success. Give yourself that credit, right? And then just number 3, just make sure that there's life outside of trading. Trading is great. I understand everyone wants to trade. Everyone wants to make it. I get it. But don't get caught up in it so much where you destroy yourself. I've seen people, including myself, went through massive depression. You know, trading is very lonely, so you go through very tough points, especially when you're not doing well, right? Everyone's against it, your family, your friends, and people around you. So when you get so consumed by it and let it take over your life, it can put you in very dark places. So if you're in that dark place or get there, just make sure you reach out to people and whatnot, but make sure you take care of your physical, mental health, because without that, everything's non-existent. So make sure you take care of that.
Definitely. And I apologize because I feel like we could have definitely gone in more.
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm gonna have to come back and we'll do it again.
No worries. You're good. You're good.
But yeah, thank you so much for going through the journey, for being here today. And any links to TradeZella, your profiles, anything, they'll be in the description below.
I appreciate it.
But everyone, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you comment the biggest takeaways that you got from this episode. Comment questions you want for the next episode, because I am going to make that happen, because there's so much to go in there. I wanted to talk about, obviously, siblings being part of the business, even more into the trading, but there was so much that we touched on anyway.
Of course, yeah.
So yeah, any questions for part 2, throw them in the comments below, and I'll make sure I come back and get them as well. But thank you for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing, and if you haven't, make sure you subscribe now. I was going to say something mean, but then I thought no. Make sure you subscribe now, like, and until next time, take care.